bioaccounting class. This video is solely on double declining balance. I am going to show you an example of fully depreciating using the double declining balance method. So over here are the factors again for this example in the PowerPoint for depreciation. The purchase price is $120,000. The residual value is $20,000. And the estimated service life is 5 years. When you do double declining balance, do a schedule. So this is how you set it up. Your first column is the year. Your next column is the cost / book value. I'll explain that in a minute. Okay. Next column is the rate. Again, I'll explain this all at the end. Next column is depreciation expense. Next column is accumulated depreciation. And your last column is BV, which stands for book value. Okay, so using this example, we purchased this asset on January 1st, 2021, which means we will not depreciate it until the end of that year. So our first date is 12/31/2021. Our cost is what it cost us. Do not take out salvage value in the beginning using double declining balance. You will see at the end what is still left will always be your residual or salvage value. Same meaning. Salvage value, residual value is what's left over after you've fully depreciated the asset. Okay, so the cost we just bring down is $120,000. Next, I'm going to explain how to get the rate. So the rate is always, the number one is the numerator, never changes. What changes is the life of the asset. So the life in this case, life of asset is 5 years. So we take 1 divided by 5, that will be 0.2, and then always multiply whatever number by 2. Double declining balance. So you will see most of the depreciation is going to happen in the first few years. Okay, so 1 divided by 5, 0.2 times 2 is 0.40 is the rate. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my calculator. We're going to just multiply this out. 120,000 times 0.40 gives you 48,000. Now this is the first year. This is the only time depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation will be exactly the same. Why? Because it's the first year. You haven't started adding to that yet. So I bring that over, 48,000. Next, how do we get book value? We get book value by taking the cost minus accumulated depreciation. So when we do that, we get 72,000. And again, please work with me. Don't just watch me. Be working with me. Take out your calculator and figure these out because you don't get it until you do it. So now our next date is going to be 12/31/2022. However, I will no longer use the cost. Now I'm going to use the book value. So I bring the book value, 72,000. I bring down the rate, 0.40. I multiply it, 72,000 times 0.40. That gives me 28,800. Okay, now accumulated depreciation. Depreciation expense is only for 1 year. It's a temporary account. It gets closed to zero every single year. Accumulated depreciation is a contra asset, which means it's a permanent account. It will not get closed. So it's going to carry a balance. Depreciation expense is an expense. So I take $48,000 and I add my current year depreciation expense. And that gives me $76,800. Same theory. I'm going to go all the way back to cost because it's cost minus accumulated depreciation. And that gives me $43,200. I'm going to flow down. I go to the next layer, which is 12/31/2023. And I take my book value from the prior period, $43,200. I multiply it by the rate, 0.40, and I get $17,280. Be really careful not to transpose a number. Take your time on this. Double check your numbers. Okay, so now I'm going to take my accumulated depreciation from the year before, and I'm going to add my current year depreciation, which gives me $94,080. Okay, then I'm going to figure out my book value. I'm going to go all the way back to cost. I'm going to take $120,000 minus $94,080, and that gives me $25,920. Okay, I'm getting close. I am getting close to my salvage value. My salvage value is $20,000. When I'm done, I have to still be left with only the salvage value. I can't go under that. Okay, so I'm going to show you a check that I do with double declining. Here's my check. What I'm going to show you is we're going to figure out the total accumulated depreciation. Here's how we're going to do that. We're going to take the cost minus the residual value. This equals the total accumulated depreciation. Oops, running out of room. All right, so we go back to this problem. We take 120,000 minus the 20 equals 100,000. Now make sure you understand, this is not book value. This is the total accumulated depreciation. Total amount we're going to depreciate this asset. Well, what you're going to learn, and yes, this is legal, you will plug the number so that, because if you did not, you would over depreciate the asset. Okay, let me show you an example. So right now, look it, I'm really close to my 100,000. Don't write this number down. So let me just show you. So we're going to do 12/31/2024. Okay, don't write it down. We're going to do 25,920. We're going to do it the same way we've been doing it. We're going to take 25,920. We're going to multiply it by 0.40. Okay. And what do I get? I get 10,368. Well, guess what? If I do 10,368 plus my prior year accumulated depreciation, I get 104,448. I went over. I can't do that. So what do? I get rid of this. Okay? No rate. what am I going to do? I'm going to plug the number, all right? So let me show you how to do the plug. I ran out of room. All right, so the plug is way up here. I hope you can see it. All right, I'm going to take 100,000 minus 94,080. Okay, so I take 100,000 minus 94,080, and that gives me 5,000. I'm going to write that in red. That gives me 5,920. What is that? That's my plug. Okay, that's my plug. All right, so now I'm going to put it in red. 5,920 plug. And when I do that, I take 94,080 plus 5,920. That gives me 100,000. And then when I take 120, I subtract out my accumulated depreciation. That gives me the residual value. Well, look at this. By 2024, I've fully depreciated the asset. So students will say, well, Professor Clay, what happens? It still stays on the books. It stays on the books until they dispose of the asset. I'll show you that in another video. Okay? So 12/31/2025. What would you start with? Well, what's your cost? Your cost is 20,000, right? You have no rate. You have no depreciation expense. This is still 100,000, and this is still 20,000. Okay, so this is an example where it's fully depreciated in the year before. That's not always the case. So students always say, Professor Clay, can you tell me the year that I will have to plug the number? No, I can't. So what I'd say to you is do this check that I taught you over here and don't over depreciate the asset. And that's how you do double declining balance.